Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I've got some exciting, some of you are just going to be like thrilled when you hear what this video is about, because yes, I am going to continue the infamous career story with Career Story Part 7. So yeah, so I thought I haven't done a career story video in a while, and I had to, part of it's been because I've got to go back and watch the previous one and figure out where I left off, and it's just not the right time for it. But you know what? It's enough procrastinating. It's enough delaying on this. It's about time we got into Part 7, because there's a lot more to go here. So let's see where we left off. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're like, what the hell are you talking about, John? Check out the playlist on my career story, where I basically go from the beginning of my career to present day, to the end of my career, and I talk about the mistakes I made, all kinds of problems I got into, how I progressed. I cover a large portion of it. Obviously, I can't fit everything that happened to me, and I may have left out some details, but I'm trying here. So anyway, last time I left off, I talked about this job that I got at the Department of Health and Welfare as a contractor, and how I'd started Simple Programmer, had started the blog there, and that was awesome. It was a growth experience for me, very successful, did a lot of cool things there, worked in Java, and then I said that I would tell you about what happened after that. So that project was really successful, okay? And Simple Programmer, I was blogging probably about 3 times a week back then on various different topics, a lot having to do with Agile. I was very much, because I was focusing on, I was a Scrum Master at this work environment, and I was helping the team become extremely productive. I'd basically taken a team, they put me as a Scrum Master on a team, and we were doing something like, I don't know, they were doing like 40 story points a week or per sprint, and I jumped that up to like 3 to 4x, like literally. And so I was really into figuring out how to best optimize Scrum. I came up with a lot of rules for it. I was very excited about this, and about Agile in general, about doing Lean and Kanban stuff. In fact, I did a blog post called KANBANAND, which was my approach to combining the best of test-driven development, Kanban, sort of Agile, Lean practices, XP programming. It never really got implemented that much, but anyway, that's what I was focusing on. So long story short, that project was wrapping up essentially as we actually successfully completed. Can you believe a government project that was successfully completed? And I had a big part in that. I have to say, I've told you where I've screwed up, right? In my story here, this is where I excelled. Like I kicked ass. Like I was very much one of the people that was responsible for making this project successful, and it was a hugely successful project. That actually built me quite a nice reputation within the government, Idaho government, IT kind of department there. And so I ended up getting an offer for the Department of Transportation to come over and consult and basically be a high-level architect there and teach them Agile and really work with them to get them running efficiently and things like that. And they offered me, I was able to get a position at $100 an hour. That was my rate. So the recruiting company was billing even more than that, because I was a contractor through there. But that was the highest that I'd ever been paid. This is Idaho. This is back then. This is not as a total freelancer. This is under a consultancy. So that was pretty awesome. I was pretty excited about that. That's a lot of money, right? I mean, that's significant, at least at that time in my life. It was. For some of you, you're like, damn, yeah, that is a lot. It was. I was very appreciative of it. I couldn't believe it. I was amazed that I was able to make that much money and to get that kind of a job. So I ended up leaving the Department of Health and Welfare. I ended up going to the Department of Transportation, a different location, and there was just sort of this feeling. I was maintaining the blog, right? There were some other things that were going on, but mostly I was working on the blog, and I was really into Agile stuff and excited about, I wanted to, I guess one of the things that I really enjoyed with the Department of Health and Welfare when I was there working as a contractor is I was architecting, I was helping the teams to grow and doing the Scrum Master type of stuff, but I was also writing a lot of code and teaching, and I was in the code a lot, and that was important to me. And so when I went to this new job, I was basically one of those ivory tower architects, right? Like I was going to meetings and I was telling people about Agile and putting together presentations and stuff like that. And you know, even though I was making a lot of money, I just didn't feel like, I don't know, I didn't feel like I was living up to my potential. I felt sort of, I don't know, just kind of a discouraging environment, I think. Just being there, it wasn't, and I thought it would fade, right? I thought I would get used to it. And you know, after a couple of weeks or so, it was like, yeah, I'm collecting this huge paycheck, but I just dread going in there and dread, like, you know, it wasn't interesting to me. And I was mostly sitting at my desk, to be honest. Like, they weren't even utilizing me. I was just sitting at my desk doing nothing, which, you know, it seems kind of weird. It's like, oh, it's not the dream job where you don't have to do anything. But that's not actually, you know, when you're working hard, when you're kicking butt, when you're making progress, that's when you feel like you're growing, and that's when you feel like you're contributing. And when you don't, it doesn't matter how much you're being paid, you feel worthless, and it's not an enjoyable experience. So even though, you know, I had accomplished all these things, it was not the environment that I was seeking. So I started looking for some jobs actually at that time. Maybe I'd put my resume out earlier, and I was looking for jobs. I wanted to do a remote. I wanted to do a work from home job where I got to do a lot of coding, and that's what I thought would be ideal. That's, you know, lifestyle wise, I wanted to do that. I'd applied for a few different jobs. I'd actually started, there was just one job for this company called Trackabout, and I really wanted to get in. I'd talked to developers that had worked there before. I'd seen them post jobs, and you know, it's hard to get a remote job. So what I ended up doing was, probably a few months back, I had started writing comments on some of the developers that were blogging that worked for Trackabout. In particular, one of my friends now, Derek Bailey, I was writing on his blog, and I think a few others, probably like Jesse Tabor and a few other, you know, ones that, and I was doing this, you know, some people are like, oh, that's using people. Well, not really, because I was contributing, I was actually enjoying their work, and I was giving them a chance to know me, to get to know me, you know, in order to be able to increase my chances of being able to work with them, right? These were people that I wanted to work with, that I respected in the industry, a company that I wanted to work for, and I wanted to work remotely. So anyway, what ended up happening was, they ended up getting a job opening, and I got, of course, a recommendation from multiple developers on the team, like, hey, you should apply for this job. Here's John's resume. And so with multiple developers recommending me for that job, I had an interview pretty quickly. I pretty much aced the interview, and then I was offered a position. Now, I was offered a salary that was, I'm pretty open here, so I'll tell you, it was, I believe at this point it was $100,000, which is, you know, salary. So this is different than a contracting rate. Now, as a contractor, I can remember, you know, when I calculated $100 an hour, it was like something like I was making 170,000 a year. It might have been more. I'd have to. I'm not familiar with the math now, because, well, okay, $100 an hour times 40 hours a week is what, $4,000 a week times 52, so 4,000, wait a minute, hold on. Say $100 an hour times 40 hours a week, $4,000 times 52 weeks. Oh yeah, no, okay, it was a big number. It was $208,000 a year. So, and that's without overtime, plus, you know, chance of, how did I give up that job? That seems kind of crazy at that time. But you know what? I wasn't happy, and that was the thing. I wanted to write code. I wanted to work remotely. I wanted to, and you know what? Also, I guess this was the other thing that was influencing me there, is I wanted to work on a team. I wanted to be like working as a consultant, as a contractor. I felt like I wasn't part of a team, like pushing a product forward. That I didn't belong to anything. I didn't belong to a company, and I wanted to have that feeling. So anyway, I tried to negotiate a little bit. My boss there at Trackabout, he's a tough cookie. He's a tough negotiator. Like, normally I can negotiate people. He basically didn't budge. I think he basically didn't budge. I was like, you know, I'm making like $200,000 a year now. You know, to go to 100, I just, you know, if we can get a 110, and I tried to negotiate on vacation. He ended up giving me like a sign-on bonus or something, and offering to allow me to have a big hardware budget so I could buy a pimp-ass computer and pimp it out. And so I ended up, you know, I thought about it for a while, and I said, no, you know what? I'm going to go for it, because quality of life, like, you know, making a bunch of money where you're not happy and you don't feel like you have real growth, is not the best opportunity. So, you know, I think that was the right decision. Some people could argue and say, no, it wasn't. But, you know, I ended up, you know, amazingly, and it shocked a lot of people, because they're like, you're like the highest paid contractor in IT government in Idaho, like, ever, pretty much, right? You know, like, how can you leave this job? And it's a cush job, right? And, you know, people knew this. So, but I was like, no, I got to make this decision. So I did. I quit the job. I bought this computer, and I put together all these parts. It was like this pimp, total, like, you know, geeked out computer, and I got to work from home. So I took the job, and Trackabout was an interesting company. It was, you know, just, God, I can't believe how great of developers that I worked with, the quality of the people that they attracted. That was the thing that attracted me to them the most. I didn't particularly like the software. It wasn't too much interesting to me, like the actual software and what it did. You know, I mean, they sell gas. They basically track cylinders in the gas industry. You know, for some people maybe that's super exciting. You know, for me it wasn't. Had a great boss, had great coworkers, right? And so it was a really good environment, I think. So I ended up working there. And this whole time while I'm working there at Trackabout, about this time, like, a few things are brewing, right? This is like, things are kind of exploding here because of the blogging. I went and I gave some talks. I'd given some talks at companies before, but I'd never really given talks at code camps or at bigger venues. So I had put together a couple of talks for the Boise Code Camp when I was in Boise at the time. And I think about that same time I wanted to start working on some kind of a project. I think part of the thing with working at the Department of Transportation was I wanted to have something I was doing that was coding and improving my life. I think at that point, another thing might have been going on, which might have been me, like, quitting playing Lord of the Rings online. I think that might have been about the time. It's hard. It kind of gets jumbled. But anyway, so I wanted to, like, replace that bad habit with something else with my time that was productive. So I started developing an Android application, which is the Pacemaker. It was called Pacemaker at the time. But I started developing that app. So I've got this kind of multiple things going on. I've got the blog, I'm switching to this new company, I've got this Pacemaker, like, Android app that I'm building, and I'm doing these talks, right? So I ended up basically getting done the Android app, and this was kind of a grueling process because I didn't want to do it at some point. I was using Kanban, I was using, you know, Scrum to kind of do my own task on it, and I got to this point where I needed the user interface to be created, and so I actually hired out a designer. I had a designer kind of help. We worked out kind of a revenue share, and she designed this user interface, and when I got it back, I was like, holy crap, I have no idea how to implement this. Right? My version of the app looked like crap, and it was fun testing this because this app was a running app that would tell you, like, speed up or slow down while you're running so you could keep a pace. And so I know I'm going a lot of different directions here, but it'll all tie in. Just wait. So anyway, I was building this app and I almost gave up on it. And see, at this point in my life, right, a lot of times when the going got tough, it's not that I quit, it's just that I lost interest and quit. Right? So I wasn't a finisher, okay? But I was like, no, damn it, John, you know what? You invest a lot of time in this. You've got someone who created a design for this. You're gonna get this, you're gonna figure out how to get this shit done. So I, like, took this beautiful looking UI and I figured out how to make custom controls in Android to like this wasn't stuff that you could just do in Android. I had to figure out how to do custom drawing functions and all that. And I had kind of learned about how to do that from my HP days when I was making custom controls for some of the printers there, so in the .NET framework. And it was a similar thing with Android. So I figured this stuff out. I got it. I basically implemented that design. It took some time, but I just made a little progress every day. I was like, I'm going to move the ball a little bit further every day, and I did. And I completed the app, and I put it in the App Store, and that was freaking awesome. It felt so good to actually finish an application and get it out there. And that's a point in my life that I mark that significantly changed my life, because that's the point where I became a finisher. And becoming a finisher is so important. I'm not going to sidetrack into that, but I think I did a video on becoming a finisher. If not, I need to do one on it. I know I've done a blog post. Actually, the blog post might be what I'm referring to here. So if there's no video, there'll be a blog post link. Anyway, let's see where to go here. I'm actually gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon here, because I don't want to go too long. We have to go to part 8 here. But anyway, so I got that app out there, and some pretty cool things happened. I actually got I got on the news for developing the app. I don't remember exactly how that came about. And so I had like this really short little news segment. I was in like the business section of the newspaper, of the local newspaper, and then I submitted the app, or to Shape magazine, because I was trying to like promote the app, and they accepted it, and they published a little tidbit about the app in there, and I got an explosion of sales when that Shape magazine came out. Like, it was crazy. Like, all these people were buying it. It was crazy. I thought the app was going to be like making me a ton of money. And I had this plan in my head that I was going to be an app developer. I was going to, like, if I built 20 apps, I could like build my way to freedom and get these apps in the store and all that. So I was thinking that, okay? And then at the same time, around this time, I did a couple of presentations for Code Camp, and one of them was on Android development, and I was blogging away at my blog, and this guy that actually my wife was working for at one period of time, he came up to me at a Code Camp, I believe, and he said to me, he said, I work for this company, or I'm in what was it? I think he was consulting for this company called Pluralsight. And he said, I know that we're looking for an Android person, right? We're looking for someone to develop an Android app for Pluralsight. We're also looking for someone to teach an Android course. I know that I've been reading your blog, and you just finished an Android app, and you just gave a presentation at the Code Camp, and you write some pretty good stuff on your blog. So would you be interested? And so, I had thought about it. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll submit a proposal to do the Android app, but I don't know about teaching a course, right? And so I ended up submitting a proposal for the Android application, and surprisingly, they turned me down. They're like, no, we're going to hire someone else to do that, but we are looking for someone to teach an Android course, which seemed kind of weird to me, because, like, I can't make the Android app, but you want me to teach a course? Okay, so fine. So I submitted this demo video. Okay, and what I did was I basically recorded this demo video, and it it was not okay. So I didn't know anything about recording and editing. Okay, I'd never recorded anything, never did any kind of work like that, and so I went over to this gentleman's house. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants to, whatever. But anyway, I went over his house, and he actually let me use his equipment to record this demo, and then we were going to submit to Pluralsight. This was way back in the day before. There's like maybe 15 Pluralsight authors, I think, probably at this point. So there's like 40 courses maybe. And so I recorded this thing. It was an introduction to like Android development. In fact, I wonder if the course should still be there on Pluralsight. You can see my first course. If you look at all my courses, actually just go to all my courses and look at the first one there. But I basically recorded it, and I didn't know about editing, so I thought I had to do it all in kind of one take. So it was like a 15-minute thing, and so I went through. It took me like 3 hours, right? And actually, I'll say his name because there's no reason. The gentleman's name was David Starr. David Starr, if you're listening to this, I owe you one, because you were definitely pivotal in changing my life with this opportunity. But I recorded it, and I had to re-record it every time, because I had no idea that I could take out ums, and that I could cut things and retake or do like 2 minutes of video clip and then combine them together. I had no idea. I just had to do 15 minutes. So I did this, finally did this 15 minutes, and David's listening to it, and he's like, this is really good. This is really, really good. He's like, how much editing did you do to this? And I was like, what do you mean editing? He's like, well, did you edit any of this? And I was like, no, I just recorded it in one take. It's like, well, no wonder why it took you so long. You should edit. You got to take out you like do this. You like take little pieces of this, right? You don't need to record the whole thing at one time in one go. This is what, and he showed me how to use editing tools, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb, right? And so anyway, it turned out pretty good, because I had, and he was very happy. He said, no, you're natural at teaching. I'd never really expected that before. It was my first go at it. And so we submitted to Pluralsight, and I got back huge positive feedback. They're like, yes, definitely, we want you to do the Android course. So I signed myself up for this Android course. So I think it's probably about time to wrap this up. We're about close to 20 minutes here, and I'll continue next time. But basically, at this point, what was going on was I was starting this new job. at Trackabout, or just started this job, I had gotten this opportunity with Pluralsight, and I thought I was going to be an app developer, and I just finished my first Android app. So in the next episode, I'll tell you what happened while I was working at Trackabout and what I decided between creating apps and doing this Pluralsight opportunity. It was kind of interesting, and how that went. So anyway, if you like these videos, if you like this this story of my career, definitely hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know, give me a thumbs up, some comments if you want me to continue on here. I think this is part 7. We'll be moving on to part 8. I've still got a lot more, and there's so much I haven't even included in all this, because there was so much going on at the time. But this is what I remember, and this is how I remember it. Hopefully this is useful to you to figure out, to see where I failed, where I've screwed up, where I've had success, as I'm giving you basically what my story is. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.